that you have not heard before. And like I charged during the workers' meeting this morning, the Bible said in the book of Luke chapter 6, I believe, and verse 47, the Bible was talking about the man who comes to Jesus, who hears the sayings of Jesus, and who carries out those instructions. The Bible said his life will be like a tree, or like a house that is built on the rock, that the foundation is solid. So I want to charge you that if you apply everything that you have been taught in this church, every word that you have received, if you apply them in your life, the evidence will be clear. Your life will be a testimony. But today I want to quickly talk about one thing that is important for all of us, and including the final year students. It is always my charge at the end of the year. And I understand that the hostels are short. Some of you may begin to travel, and it is important that you get this word before you go. So on Thursday, we started with that foundation. So we started talking about ending a year, preparing for the next. And for you, you can just put it this way: ending a phase, preparing for the next. Ending a season, preparing for the next. I don't know where I saw the caption. Okay, it's actually here. So these people decorated the hall and said, every end has what? A new beginning. And that's the message. Once a phase is ending, a new phase is actually starting. I believe you were so excited when you were leaving secondary school. Yeah, and you were the senior in secondary school. You were the people that were reigning. All of a sudden, you became like my friend that entered year 1 and did not know her left from her right. It just became a baby in another system. Now, you are the one we are celebrating today. You are in your final year. Some people said, I'm done. Done and dusted. And as you step out, you will discover that you are now a baby in the life outside of school. You now begin to learn the rules. So every ending is actually the beginning of a new. So we looked at the book of Luke chapter 2 from verse 1. We're not going to read that today. Luke 2 from verse 1 to 14. We looked at the event that characterized this season, which we call the Christmas season, the festive season, the Yuletide season. And we looked at least 3 important events that are interwoven during this time. One, we saw in the story of Joseph, they were told to come for a registration. And it was in going back to the village for the registration that they gave birth to Jesus in a manger. Bible told us that the inn was full. It's just like hotels were fully booked. Everybody returned to town. So they had a registration. Jesus was born. Angels announced celebration to all men. So we said the first important event at the end of the year is what we refer to as stock taking. Somebody, what did I call it? I didn't hear you. Stock taking is when you sit down, have personal reflection to look at the year in perspective. Now, in retrospect, you have lived from January up until now. You look at the year in retrospect and ask yourself important questions. How far have I gone? Have I fared well? Have I done well? The things that I set out to achieve, have I been able to achieve them? The plans that I had, have I been able to undertake them? The things I wanted to stop doing, have I stopped doing them? The things I wanted to start doing, have I started doing them? Now, there are some of those things that are beyond your control. For instance, for lecturers, people said, oh, this year I want to build this. And there was also strike for 8 months, you weren't paid. That's beyond your control. But if you had said, I will be reading 2 books every month, that is within your control. And you didn't do all of that. So you sit down and have, the first thing is what? Stock taking. Now the second thing we looked at, we said after stock taking, the next thing is celebration. Somebody say celebration. So celebration is part of the event that happens at the end of the year. And it is obvious. Whether you like it or not, there will be celebration everywhere. Because the angel announced that this good tidings is to all men. Even those who don't like Jesus, they still celebrate Christmas. Those who are not Christians, somehow Christmas will rub off on them. So it's an end of the year filled with celebration. If you go to the Igbo land now, everybody's returning from Malaysia and all of that to have end of the year. All the plans, all the parties are happening now. Traditional marriages, people that have died since January is now they will be buried. Everyone is doing one thing or the other, and that is fine. That's number 2 event. The last event that takes place at the end of the year is what we call preparation or planning. So every company, every organization now will sit down and begin to put things in perspective for the new year. So let me quickly make a recap on stock taking, because I want to get everybody on the same page. In the next 10-15 minutes, by the grace of God, I am done. In stock taking, the step you take to take stock of your life is personal reflection. You have to find a quiet place and reflect on the year. Having done personal reflection, you will do what I call identification and acknowledgement. Identification and acknowledgement. Meaning, you will find out, what did I achieve? What did I not achieve? Why did I achieve this? Why couldn't I achieve this? You have to identify. If you write an exam and you passed the exam, you have A's. Like, we write quite a number of exams in a particular semester. Some you have A, some you have B, some you have C. The reason why many of us have not been able to sustain success is because we do not understudy our success. We do not reflect on them. The reason why we also repeat failure is because we do not understudy our failure. We do not turn failures to learning systems and even turn success to learning systems. So you look back and ask yourself, like I told them on Thursday, I discovered as a student, if I attend lecture from day 1 of the lecture to the last day of the lecture, I do not miss any lecture. I listen directly to the lecturer, I will definitely have an A. It does not matter the course. I will definitely have an A. No matter how they describe the lecture, I will pass it. So when you pass, you need to look back and ask yourself, what did I do with this course that I did not do with this course? So why was I able to achieve this and I was not able to achieve this? Identify the factors. If something helped you, if someone helped you, those are catalysts. You find what they are, identify them so that you can specifically introduce them into the next season. If you saw things that hampered the growth, that did not allow you to do what you wanted to do, it is important that you identify so that you may remove. If you do not identify, you will not remove. If you do not identify, you will not be able to repeat it. So identification and acknowledgement is very important. Under stock taking, the third thing, I said the first one is what? Personal reflection, acknowledgement, and identification. The third thing is what we call appreciation and adjustment. Appreciation and adjustment. Appreciation means the people that you identify that helped you and facilitated the success that you have been able to accomplish. After you have identified them, reach out to them and appreciate them. And one of our favorite lines in our preaching this year is that don't just thank God for James, but what? Thank James. The first personality I feel all of us are indebted to in our line of success is God. So it is important at the end of the year, you do thanksgiving. You thank God for the year. It is important. Some churches call it end of the year harvest. You don't need to put it as harvest. You by yourself, find a time quietly in your room, find a time in the congregation of other believers and offer thanksgiving unto God. And those kind of thanksgiving comes with offering. in appreciation. The second category of people are human beings, people that facilitated the success you have. If you're a business owner, you have clients that patronized you. You have people that were committed to your business. Reach out to them. Send them messages. And I said it on Thursday. If you say, oh, Pastor, I don't have money to reach out to all of these people, I am sure you can afford 4 naira. And 4 naira is still the cost of an SMS. Reach out to them. You have an uncle that this year is supported you. He sent you money where you did not even expect. Get your phone. Reach out and say, Uncle, you were part of the people that made this year easy for me. You sent me money in June and it solved a lot of my problem. Uncle, I appreciate that. If you do that to your uncle this year, who sent money once, next year, you will send twice. So everybody, your parents, don't say it's their responsibility. There are some parents who they know it's their responsibility, they still did not do it. So anyhow you want to do, thank the people that God used. Don't just thank them in your mind. Thank them, let them hear. Reach out to them in appreciation. And in the situation where you find out things that did not work, it is important you also do what we call adjustment. Adjustment meaning removing what needs to be removed and putting what needs to be put. And I shared this clearly on Thursday. One of the things we used to do is what we call New Year resolution, and I don't believe in it. The reason is that you start New Year resolution in January and it's already late. Because you don't plan inside the event. You plan before the event. So that's why I'm teaching this thing now. So one of the things we do is we tell ourselves, okay, I want to stop doing this. Or I want to start doing this. And we leave it there. Listen. For everything you intend to stop doing, identify what you are starting to do. So, I give an example. I want to stop taking carbonated drinks. It's not enough to say I want to stop. Because the question is that if you have not decided at that point on what to take instead of carbonated drink, you will still take carbonated drink. So it's not that I don't want to take. So when I have made that decision, I now tell myself, when I am in the situation to take carbonated drink, what will I take? If it is water, if it is juice, if it is fruit, you must identify it. You must make that adjustment. If you say, I want to stop doing this, you must tell yourself what you want to start doing. And please, don't wait till January to make the adjustment. It shows you are not repentant. So you discover that, said I was going to be reading 2 books a month. Hey, this year I did not do well. Next year, I am going to start. Start it. When? Now. It is the point you identify an error that you should begin the adjustment. If you procrastinate adjustment, you will never adjust. If you procrastinate adjustment, it means it is not really a part of your life. Because, I want to be reading my Bible every day from January. No. It is good to be reading my Bible every day, and I start when? Now. So we are not doing New Year resolution. We are doing a New You resolution, which starts now. Because your life is not going to pause till January. Somebody say, I hear you, sir. So you make adjustments. Let's stop there for stock taking. I don't need to teach you on how to do celebration. You all know it. If I allow you now, say, if we did not stop this service, we will dance till tomorrow. Everybody know how to celebrate. So what I want to teach in the next 5-10 minutes is planning. How to plan and prepare for next year. That's my today's message. Luke chapter 14 and verse 28. From verse 28. Media, please help me. I want to wrap up this message in 10 minutes time by the grace of God. For which of you, intending to build a tower, will not sit down first? Somebody says, sit down first. He will not just sit down. His sitting down is to put himself in a position to thoroughly count the costs. What will it take me to achieve what I want to achieve? He sit down and counted the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish it. Proverbs 21:31. Proverbs 21:31. 31, please. The horse is prepared against the day of battle. But what? Safety is of the Lord. So we are going for battle. We prepare even though we depend on God. That is the way believers should live. We should not just live our life trusting God alone. We should live our life planning and trusting God in the pursuit of that plan. We don't live our life to fate, F-A-T. We live our life in the hands of God. Because fate is not always faithful. But God is always faithful. Fate is not always fair. But God is always just. So you don't just leave it to chance. No, you leave it in the hands of God. So planning. How are you going? It's a workshop thing. There is no plenty. How are you going to plan for the new year? One of my guys wrote a book. It's an e-book. And I love the caption of the book. He said, January is not for planning. Because you plan before. You don't plan inside. Somebody said January is not for planning. Good. So the first thing you do before you plan is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. That my friend said I should not preach message, I should preach whether you like it or not. So you may not like this one. Habakkuk 2:1. Media, you must be with me this morning. I'm running. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. You should know Habakkuk. Some people are not used to Habakkuk. We read it once in a blue moon. I will stand. The other place said, who wants to build a tower will not sit down to count the cost. So this one says, I will stand upon my watch. Even though he's talking about standing, but it is a spiritual posture, not necessarily a physical posture. So understand what he's saying. I will stand upon my watch. I will set me upon the tower. I will watch to see what he will say to me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Verse 2. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the tables, that they may run that does what? That readeth it. Verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come to pass. Step number 1. Receive a vision from the Lord. Receive a vision from the Lord. Sisters had hangouts during the week, and they gave them a jotter. The purpose of the jotter is not for Jennifer's diary. You know, ladies like to write their woes, their tears, their pain, and their agony. They write it, so that anytime they want to renew their sadness, they can go there. Anytime they want to strengthen their depression, they have something to fall back to. That book is not for that purpose. I was there when they gave me the book. They said the book is for the purpose of writing the things that God will show you. The things that God will show you, not what men have done to you. Not the shege. But the vision that God will give to you. And I challenge you. The protocol is this. Before this year ends, Find a comfortable 3 days that you can separate yourself. Wait on the Lord and receive a vision for next year. Lord, what is my... And this is, let me tell you something about God. God does not necessarily have to give you a new vision. God may have to highlight what he has already told you before that you continue. So, a new year is not necessarily for a new plan. A new year may be to continue what you didn't finish. We are always eager to start something new every new year. That's why we have somebody posted a picture online of apples that were eaten here. You ate it here, you ate it here, you ate it here, you ate it here. You not finish one yet. Person said that is the picture of many people's online courses. You start project management, you chop 2 weeks, you drop it. You pick this, you chop it. So what God may be telling some of you is to put his light again on something he had already told you before. So it's a continuation, not necessarily something new. For some of you, God will give you something new, a new pursuit for the year. So find time. Don't be carried away by the celebration. You have eaten enough rice this year already. There is nothing new in Christmas. There is nothing they want to cook this end of the year that you have not seen before. There is nothing, there is no euphoria again. Euphoria of celebration is the same euphoria. So don't be carried away. Some of you may have to do it before you travel. Some of you, it is when you travel that you will have the right environment. Some of you, it's before Christmas. Some of you, it's between Christmas and New Year. Find your own comfortable time. And the earlier, the better. I always recommend 3 days. 3 days of being yourself. You will do personal reflection. You will do stock taking. And you will wait on God to give you a vision. I will stand upon my tower to see what he will say. To hear from him and have a vision. When you have received the vision from the Lord, the next thing you need to do is to write it down. Somebody say, write it down. It's a scriptural principle. Write the vision. Make it plain that they that read may run. If there's anything I've learned from my wife is that attribute of writing it. When I was serving in 2011, I had a vision in my mind that, I've not really seen any exciting, interesting, dynamic meetings that will stir up the mind of people to be thinking and innovative and the rest. I said, okay, let me organize a program. And my friend told me, David, if we just organize a speaking event, people will not come because they don't know you, they don't know your track record and the rest of that. So what do? I went back to think, and God laid in my heart, why not organize a skill acquisition program? Have about 7, 8, 9 skills, tell people to come and learn. And I can't forget my friend, her name is Adenike. We were in a room with Tolu. And we had that discussion. And Adenike said, David, let's get a paper, let's get a pen, let's write it down. It came to pass because we wrote it. As we were writing it, we were seeing how we will do it. There is God that said right. He knows there is a power. Let me ask you. You are reading for an exam. If you are reading, and after you read, you write it, it's not the same thing as when you read alone. There is what writing does to your nervous system. That is what it does to your brain. It puts you in the mood to think through things. Write it down. Don't just keep it within yourself. Write it down. Make it plain upon the tables that they that read it may do what? May run. Write it. As you write the vision, also write the steps, the action plan. That's why you do those in the place of prayer. God will begin to impress upon you. As you begin to pray about those things, you begin to say idea. Talk to this person. God will begin to connect you. Reach out to this guy. As you are doing that, you will just come online and you will see an advertisement for a training that you have written down as a skill you must have. Somebody will just advertise and say there's a scholarship for that training If you register now, you pay 50%. If you didn't write it down, you will identify it. That's what they call recognition. Recognition is because it is from the word cognitive. Something was already there before. That is why you can recognize. There is already an information that you are recognizing. So when you write it down, it makes you recognize opportunity. It makes you see the way. Write the vision and write the plan. All of these should be written under the influence of divine direction. It should be written under the influence of that. That's why I say separate yourself. See, I tell people, if you want to be a Christian, you have to be a Christian. Christians pray. Christians depend on God. Christians wait on God. If you are not doing those things, you are not a Christian. You are just joining us to church. You can't say you are a Muslim. We must see some mark on your forehead because you have been hitting your head on the floor. If you say you are a Christian, we should see that you pray. It must show. This is the time. You did not pray throughout January to December. God has forgiven you. Pray now. So that 2023 will not be a repeat of 2022. So that 2023 will be a step ahead. So that 2023 will be progressive. Find the time alone with God. Know the mind of God. Write it down. Put the plans there. Be realistic. Ask yourself sincere questions. When I went for IT in 2009, I told myself, in 6 months, I will read 300 books. Now, that is me talking. When I wrote it down, I saw that it was practically impossible. Because 6 months is how many days? 150 somethings, 170 days or so. So I cannot even read a book a day. So I can't read up to 170 books. So I brought it down again. I said, okay, 100. I looked at it. Some books are big, some are small. There are some books I can't even read in a day. But I left it at 100. Guess what? I read 58 books in 6 months. And because I wrote it down that I wanted to read book, as I got to my IT place, it was a teaching hospital. I studied biochemistry. It was supposed to be about biochemistry reading. I just met one guy. I didn't have the money to buy the books I wanted to read. So I don't even have 58 books. But I met a young guy who had the money to buy the books, but never had the time to read the books. So that's what they call partnership. So I partnered with him. He buys, I read. Do you know that it was interesting? He said that I taught it in retrospect. The guys from Akwa Ibom. That was 2009, when I didn't even know I was coming to Akwa Ibom. The guys from Akwa Ibom. I just met him in UCH. He just liked me. We connected. He will buy the book. The day he bought it, he will not even carry it home. I will collect it. And because I want to collect another one tomorrow, I read so fast. I will stay all night awake reading those books. Well, the effect of those books in my life can never be destroyed. Never. Those books may burn. Those books, I don't even see them again. But do you know till today, I have the record of those books. I know where I wrote them down. Which book I read. By the time I read those books, my mind was stretched. And somebody said that is the way your mind is stretched. It cannot return to its state again. I tell people, after that time, there was just a way I couldn't think again. It changed forever. So I'm challenging you. Sit down, plan it. For this thing that I want to accomplish, who can help? What adjustment do I need to make in my life? Do I need to change my sleeping time? Change my wake-up time? Do I need to get another job? Do I need to readjust? Planning is not cheap. Ask architects. Ask structural engineers. They will tell you that planning is not what? It's not cheap. There are many factors you will consider, but I encourage you to do it under the influence of the Holy Spirit. Stand to your feet. Let us pray. Tell the Lord, Lord, I know my tomorrow is better than my today. Please repeat after me because we don't have time. Say, Father, Lord, I thank you because my tomorrow is better than my today. 2023 is better than 2022.